Welcome back and welcome to our Africa Tech segment. We spotlight a critical turning point in Africa's clean energy transition as the continent races to electrify mobility and power. Battery swapping has emerged as the only scalable option. However, there's a growing warning. Africa's battery swapping revolution could fail, not because of hardware, but because of a lack of intelligence. With fewer than 1 in 5 African countries hosting even 10 public electric vehicle charging stations, the demand for electrification, according to analysts, will soon overwhelm the continent's infrastructure. Or without real-time intelligence to track battery health, anticipate demand, manage payments, and prevent theft, analysts say the system risks collapsing both operationally and even financially. Well, joining us now to break this down is Eric Nygaard. He's the CEO of Coffer, one of the few African companies directly tackling this problem. He joins us from Ghana. Thank you so much for joining us on our Africa Tech segment.
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Well, for the benefit of our viewers, let's help us understand, the revolution of Africa's battery swapping on electric vehicles.
Well, I maybe just to take a stance on how we see the market as a whole. We recognize, as I think does everybody around the world, that African urban populations are growing at an extremely fast rate, and that the electrical grid as we know it are really going to struggle to keep up with the required energy needs across quite a large range of use cases. And one of those use cases is motorcycles. Another use case is generators. And today, both of those are being fueled by petrol to the tune of some $50 billion per year. So the problem to meet that gap, to make energy more affordable and cleaner in these urban environments is quite a big task, and just paints a picture of something very sizable and large.
Yeah, okay, do continue.
Yeah, and I think that where we see battery swapping is coming in to solve this gap in energy requirement. So displacing petrol with something cleaner, more silent, and more affordable than you'd get from petrol today.
Well, analysts like you, believe that, battery swapping is the only viable path for large-scale electrification in Africa today. But it could fail, without intelligence. And it's not because of hardware, but without intelligence. Do break that down for us.
Yeah, so I think if we start with that large scale, we estimate that to take the whole petrol market of all the motorcycles and generators, you would need some 500,000 swap stations located across Africa. It's a lot of swap stations. And you're probably going to be sitting at tens of millions of battery swaps happening every single day. But the critical thing is that when a user turns up to want energy from one of these locations, they need to get a fully charged battery in a matter of seconds. And to achieve this consistently, you need to have really good intelligence and monitoring capability to make sure that you can balance the demand against the supply of batteries so that customers can trust and always get a battery when they turn up at a station. So this is really a big AI piece to think through how you ensure a battery is always available when a rider or user turns up at a swap station. Means you need to move batteries around the network, but also incentivize riders or users to go where batteries are available. And I think that needs to be incentive driven. So it's a big supply-demand optimization that needs to happen.
Indeed, and the statistics show that with fewer than 1 in 5 African countries having more than 10 public EV charging stations, how do you now think, the current infrastructure can measure up to what is really needed to meet the projected demand, which you've highlighted?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I mean, today, only about 10% of energy needs on the continent come from electricity. And so everything else comes from other forms like fuel or kerosene or whatever. And so to have a system that can be reliable enough to deliver this type of technology like battery swapping, it'll need to be bolstered by solar so that you will always have more energy to feed the batteries to then hand over to customers when they need it. So it'll need a bit of an infrastructure development with solar, as well as tapping the grid where and when you can to charge the batteries.
And what role do you think, local engineering talents can play, I beg your pardon, in creating this most advanced energy infrastructure?
I would say this might be one of the most exciting areas for new talent to get into, because in Africa, it's a re-engineering of how energy is delivered to people. And so engineers on the ground will be best suited to develop and solutionize these things for the people on the ground. And I think it's really exciting. The great thing is that already, with the spread of social media and access to internet, the talent on the ground is already really high caliber. And so adapting them to this new exciting system, I think is readily there for the taking. And should create a lot of interesting and exciting job opportunities for young people coming out of school. It should be really exciting for them.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Eric Nygaard, CEO of COFA. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.